reflects that. Now, as far as this particular Agnipath scheme is concerned, our first call is to ask the government to withdraw the scheme because we feel that it seriously compromises our competitive capability and our operational preparedness, especially against the challenges that we face today. Like the previous scheme for the farmers that this government has introduced, without applying it mind or without following any consultative process, you know that it resulted in the death of over 700 farmers, which was unnecessary. In a similar manner, again without consulting the stakeholders or putting it for discussion in Parliament, they have come about with this scheme, this Agnipath scheme, which we feel seriously jeopardizes the security preparedness of the nation. And we want to talk about it because this is a matter that affects us, and it also is an insult to the aspirations of the youth of the country today. If you look at the aspiration of most of the youth all over the country today, they associate a feeling of pride and a continuation of a proud tradition when it comes to joining the armed forces. It is not a job. It is an association. It's a lifelong commitment. They're willing to give their lives for it. And this is one avenue that most of the children aspire for. They feel proud. The families feel proud. And now, with this decision, it has been reduced to a contractual obligation, which is the most unfortunate insult that this government can heap on the youth of the nation today. Today we have a number of challenges. We have the Chinese breathing across our neck, across the line of actual control for over 2 years now. We have challenges on the western border, and we are way short of our operational capabilities. In such a situation where we haven't had hiring for 2 years, you are further compromising the preparedness of our armed forces by looking into the economic aspect and not into the preparedness aspect. We understand, as a responsible national party, we understand that we have to follow economic prudence when it comes to certain decisions. We understand that today the salaries and the pensions bill together constitutes 54% of the defense outlay. We also understand that the ratio of the revenue expenditure against capital acquisitions has reduced to 80:20, where optimally it should be 60:40. We understand the economic imperative, but those economics should not be applied to the hiring of our youth. It is an aspiration for them, it is a matter of pride for them. And as a responsible government, you should be looking at creating more resources for the nation's defense. I would say it is akin to saying that a family wants to buy a car, so in order to save money, let's starve the kids. This is exactly what is happening, and I think it's a very, very short-sighted approach by this government, and we would request the government to withdraw the scheme in its entirety. It is such a sham. For 2 years, we haven't hired soldiers, which definitely compromises our operational capabilities and our competitive efficiency. After that, we come up with the scheme which says that we are going to train people for 6 months and hire them for 4 years, and out of that only 25% will continue while 75% come out of the armed forces. You know, one of the responsibilities I had when I was the Minister of State for Defence was to look after ex-servicemen's welfare. And one of the important aspects of ex-servicemen's welfare is their rehabilitation. After the Jawans come out, what do? Can we give them a career? Because they come out at a very young age. And one of the things that we had been trying was to enroll the ex-servicemen into our paramilitary forces. You will be surprised to know that only about 2.5% of the ex-servicemen have been inducted into the paramilitary forces. There are issues related to seniority when they are inducted, cross-inducted into the paramilitary forces. And these issues will still be relevant if we are trying to induct these Agniveers into the paramilitary forces. And like I said, we've only been able to enroll 2.5% of our ex-servicemen into the paramilitary forces, which is a very small number. And these are men who are highly trained, highly disciplined, and we have not been able to induct them into the paramilitary forces. I think a more important aspect is to ensure that they are trained adequately so that they can have a second career, which we can easily do. The government should be focusing on skilling. They should be able to create avenues for the youth, especially all these people who are coming out. Instead, they are trying to save on the budget, which is the most unfortunate thing to do when it comes to our nation's security. We strongly condemn this approach. We feel that the government should be able to increase the budget for the defense preparedness. The reason they have not been able to do is, the reasons are so obvious. The economy is in shambles. The unemployment rate has been the highest in over 45 years. And according to a report, a credible report, the middle class in India has shrunk from 99 million to 66 million. So that means our spending capability is reducing. People are either on the verge of being kicked out of a job or losing a job, and we have not been able to create any new jobs, irrespective of all the high-sounding names this government has come up with. And now, to add insult to injury to the aspirational youth of this country, they are destroying the dream that most of them aspire to be. Again, I am mentioning, this is a position that most people associate with a feeling of pride. They want to be in the armed forces. They want to sacrifice their lives for the country. And you are taking away that opportunity from these people. So we appeal again to withdraw this scheme. The late General CDS, General Bipin Rawat, in fact wanted to increase the age of the Jawans to 56 years. He knew that there were not enough avenues once the Jawans come out of the armed forces. So I think keeping his memory, this government shouldn't be doing such things. I think it's a matter of shame that they are attempting to do this. And today, there are so many security aspects that we need to prepare for. The warfare theater is changing. It is asking for faster responsiveness. The weapons and the systems are getting increasingly sophisticated, which again calls for a larger degree of training. In such a scenario, you're curtailing the training to 6 months and you're curtailing their career to 4 months. So I think this is going to seriously jeopardize the national security, and we would like to call for its complete withdrawal. On the jobs front, the record of this government has been abysmal. Today, as we speak, there are 26 lakh vacancies in central government, and overall the central government and other vacancies put together, there are about 62 lakh vacancies, which the government is unable to fill. So I'm pleading on behalf of the Congress party that the government withdraw this scheme, indulge in a more serious discussion about this, and prepare better if you want to create an avenue for the employment of our youth into our armed forces. So again, I would like to end this by saying that what started off as one rank, one pension ends sadly with no rank, no pension. This has been the contribution of this government, and it is a sad state of affairs that it reflects so poorly on preparing our national security and preparing our operational capabilities towards the defense of our country. And it is shattering the dreams of our youth all over the country. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
So if I'm not wrong, you are the much better person known about all these things. When it comes to defense, you know much better than anything. You have given some facts and figures here. The claims and the truths.
Yes.
When it comes to the truth, why Congress is silent till now as far as Agnipath scheme is concerned? Because Congress is the party which holded the office for so many years and knows the defense capacity of the India for much better. We are just saying that we will fight to China and other things when we spend our expenditure to the army is very less compared to other countries. How this scheme really damages the backbone of the army and the armed forces? Can you explain that, please?
Anyway, first of all, I want to refute you on that I don't claim to know anything better. But a lot of knowledgeable people, ex-servicemen, people who held in responsible positions, and people who won the Paramveer Chakra, they have all condemned the scheme and said it is very, very dangerous. And now, a serious review was done after the Kargil war towards our preparedness. And one of the recommendations of the Kargil committee was that our Jawans should be able to serve at least 7 to 10 years, after which these people could be inducted into the paramilitary forces. Why I am mentioning it is because that is the reason that this government has been mentioning that the Kargil Review Committee. Nowhere does the Kargil Review Committee says that, hire them for 4 years. So now I had to follow up on the other questions that you have asked. I have reasonably elucidated my reply, which is against the threats that this nation faces. We need to prepare in a much more serious manner in terms of our preparedness, in terms of modern armaments, in terms of our preparedness of our soldiers. And so we seriously feel that this 6 months of training and 4 months of a career puts them neither here or there, doesn't give them the required experience to handle the modern weaponry that is coming into warfare today. If you look at the streams in Air Force and Navy, they emphasize on a lot of engineering. If you look at the Navy, they train their engineers, they have to be an engineer because these guys are out at sea and they have to look at the preparedness of the platform that they have, whether it's a submarine or a ship. So that is why that efficiency is needed. It is the same thing that is desired of the army, which is the larger force of the three. But a 4-year period doesn't prepare them adequately towards that operational preparedness.
But government is claiming that we will give, when Israel is doing it, when other countries are doing it, why can't we, being the largest armed forces country and we are spending a lot?
See, this is again, I would say at this stage, it is an experimental thing. And they should have experimented it as a parallel stream instead of using as the main avenue for inducting people into the armed forces. Because this is not enough. This period is not enough.
So now the army seems to justify the decision and say that the army is not a recruitment agency. It is a service to whoever interested, come on site. What do you say?
You are absolutely right. It is not a recruitment agency. It is an agency where people get in with the single desire to sacrifice their lives for the country. And it is with that feeling of pride that all the youth want to get into the armed forces. They don't want to get into a contract. They want to commit their lives. They want to have a career in the armed forces. It is a matter of pride for them. It is the continuation of a proud tradition. If you look at actually most families in a lot of states, entire families, entire villages have people who served in the armed forces. It's a matter of pride for them. And you are going to, after 4 years, determine that 75% are not fit to continue in the army. Just imagine the feeling of shame that they will have.
But government is again saying, sir, that you are provoking those who came on street and they are protesting against this scheme, which is saying that we will give proud patriotism to the youth.
See, unfortunately, what happened, we condemn the burnings and all that, but what happened on the streets, the burning of trains and the people coming out, was a spontaneous reaction by the youth. They felt offended. They felt hurt. This was one opportunity that they were seeking to serve the nation, and they looked at it as a lifelong career commitment, and you're snatching it away. So what happened was a spontaneous reaction against the background that we have today. Like I said today, in over 45 years, this is the highest unemployment that we are seeing in the country today. And no scheme that the government has brought forward has been able to give reasonable employment. Neither has it been able to bring reasonable amount of skills to these youngsters so that they can go and look for a job elsewhere. Against this failure, they are bringing in this scheme, which is like a slap across the face of kids who are already hurt.
Sir, I have my last question. The three forces chiefs are coming to the camera and they are speaking very spontaneously on this issue. And they are saying that it is a great scheme. Do you think they have been forced to do it, or somewhere the armed forces are compromising with the patriotism or the national security?
See, like I said in the beginning, the Congress party respects our armed forces. We are all for strengthening their arms. We are all for strengthening the operational capabilities and the preparedness of the nation. And we do not want to cross words with the chiefs of those who are at the helm of affairs. But this is such a scheme, we can see it by the comments of people who served in the armed forces, people who are distinguished and who won meritorious awards. They've all been commenting on this. They say that it seriously compromises the capabilities and the combat efficiency of the armed forces. It is not that we are saying it. We are saying it based on their words. And that is why we are telling the government to withdraw this. When you have a scheme like this, or when you intend to save money, please bring it up for discussion. I don't think the nation's security should be compromised in order to save money. And that's exactly what is happening today.
So, sir, you are saying national security. It is not an insult to our youth.
You are right. It is an insult to our youth because they are looking at it as a lifelong commitment, and you are sort of reduced it to a contract.
Speaking on the financial aspect, do you have any plans apart from this to cut down the military expenditure as in for the pensions? Because a huge chunk goes to the pensions.
Like I said in my speech today, out of a budget of 5,25,000 crores for the armed forces, 54% of that is going towards salaries and pensions. And only about, I think, 24% of it is available for capital expenditure, that is buying new platforms. So which reduces it down to a ratio of 80% for revenue expenditure and 20% for capital expenditure. Whereas the optimum ratio should be 60:40. So we know the realities. But in such a situation, when we have a security threat across the borders, the government should be giving more budget to the army, to the armed forces. And if you look at it as a comparison of percentage of the national expenditure.
If they allocate more budget to army, the ratio remains the same, right?
No. I'll tell you. Now, because then you will be increasing the capital spend. You can give more money for the capital spend, which is what is needed. And if you look at the comparative figures, if you compare it to 2017 to 18, to the today's budget, it has reduced from 17% of the national spend, overall national spend, to 13%. In fact, we should be doing the reverse. We should be jumping it up much more, especially with this Chinese security threat across the border.
Sir, despite these things, I have one more question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, in Assam, related to Maharashtra MLA.
No. Don't change the topic. Let's just stay focused on this.
So from Monday,
No, sir, they have given CRPF security.
No. It's not.
Also, Central Reserve.
No. It's not related to this subject. But anyway, you also mentioned, right from day one, the Congress party has been agitating. In fact, tomorrow also, we are going to be agitating all across the country. And today, in 20 cities across the nation, we are conducting this press conference at 1 o'clock, like we did today here. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you are in?
He was there for a long time.
Oh, really? Okay. I recognize some faces, including yours, but I don't remember the context. Yeah. Who? I won't claim to, but yeah. ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
Did not even go to school. Those people are help of us these days. Other institution of my country. And educated people like our my seniors, they don't speak. They are very much silent.
You're from Bangalore?
Yes, sir. इनका ये पोस्ट भी बहुत फर्क करता है सर.